What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Avengers. So as I'm sure you can tell from the thumbnail and the title, I am joined in this video by Q Reviews and Rashad G Reviews, two guys that I love here on YouTube that are super awesome. They have so much commitment to what they do. They love movies and I love talking about movies with them. Two great friends that I've made here. We've been on each other's channels multiple times at this point, so you guys probably know who they are. And if you don't know, you're going to hear from them in a little bit about the Avengers. But I decided to bring them in here so we could just praise the ever-living fuck out of this movie. I was really excited to have them come in here because I knew that they probably loved this film, but I wanted to hear their different things that excited them about this movie, what kind of led up to the excitement for this movie for them. And yeah, I can't wait for you guys to hear what they have to say, but let's go ahead and start talking about this movie. So the Avengers came out the year after I graduated high school. I was about 18 years old when this movie came out, and it was everything I ever dreamed of. Growing up, I was a huge comic book fan, specifically Marvel. If I was ever in some sort of battle between Marvel and DC, I loved them both, but Marvel always spoke to me a lot more. I was always a lot more connected to the Marvel characters and their stories, and the Avengers and those characters were no different. One of the things I'm super proud of about my movie-going ventures throughout my life is that just for my love for comic book movies, I have seen every single comic book movie that has been released in theaters the opening night or the opening day since the time I've been alive. I've not missed a single one, and especially since comic book movies have become a huge thing. I think the only ones I missed were when I was maybe under 8 years old, but after that I was watching each and every single comic book movie that came out once I was capable of understanding what was going on. I love the comic books, I love the animated stuff. I just was so ingrained in all of this. So the dream project for all of us was the ability to see an Avengers live action film that would just blow our minds. And of course we got some terrible comic book movies growing up, and that's why I think I'm so lenient on a lot of films when you watch my reviews, is because I just grew up loving and just wanting so much out of these films with guys in tights that just weren't very good. Those movies a lot of times weren't good. Some of them were good, some of them weren't so good. And so the dream was to get something like this film. This film is directed by Joss Whedon and stars everybody who had been in the MCU up to this point and leading up to this huge culmination. You have Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr, Samuel L. Jackson, the introduction of Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and just so many others. There's so many great faces in here and characters that would go on to become huge mainstream characters that for comic book fans like me and other people who kept up with this stuff, you knew who they were, but it really wasn't until this film that these characters over the time became household names for pretty much everybody. I remember the phenomenon that this film was, and leading up to it, it was crazy to see how every single Marvel film leading up to this movie got bigger and bigger as far as the attendance and the audience, and as people were more and more excited about this. Like I mentioned, I've seen every single comic book movie that's come out in my lifetime on opening night, so I was there premiere night of every single MCU film leading up to this. I remember going to see Captain America: The First Avenger, and at the post-credit scene, they gave us a preview to this, and I had gone with one of my best buddies, Thomas. We went to see majority, if not all, of the MCU films for a long time together, and yeah, I remember we were super hyped. We sat there watching that preview for it, and we were just so excited. The concept of getting an Avengers film seemed so outlandish, almost like a dream. So I think it goes without saying, I love this film. This is a film that satisfied everything that I wanted. I have very little negatives when it comes to this film, I'll be completely honest. Anything that I do have a negative does not take away from the film for me, and we can talk about a couple of those things later on, but for the most part, this is a film that is beautifully well acted, stays true to who all these characters are from the comic books, feels like literally a perfect adaptation of those characters and the stories from the comic books brought to live action. You have a great villain in Tom Hiddleston's Loki, and on an overall level, this is a film that is just beautiful to look at, has incredible action, great chemistry between the characters, and really sets us up for some of the most beautiful stuff that this franchise would hold. It's kind of crazy looking back now. We've had Infinity War, we had Age of Ultron before that, and now we've had Endgame, and we've had some of the biggest comic book movies you could ever think of, some of the biggest, most epic sequences with every character you could ever dream of or fantasize of as a kid. This franchise has easily become one of the greatest and most fan servicey things of all time, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Truly, this is a franchise that brings everything you wanted as a kid from the comic books to live action, and it's all thanks to what they were able to pull off in this film. I think what they accomplished here is a dream. It's truly a fan's dream, a film that is just going to please most audience members. It's just a feel-good popcorn film with a lot of really great character moments, and it just feels like what blockbusters were made for. Let's go ahead and hear what Rashad G Reviews had to say about this movie.
What's the deal, pickles? Is everything kosher? Rashad G from Rashad G Reviews up in this mug. I got an invite from my boy Anthony A. Perez. We're here to talk about Marvel's The Avengers. It's crazy because I've reviewed a lot of stuff and I never got this review on wax. So here it goes, y'all. Better late than never. Marvel's The Avengers is the definitive superhero film. This changed the game forever, revolutionized the genre. Prior to this movie, prior to The Avengers, we had a bunch of solo joints. Some of them were good, some of them were trash, but they were all solo movies, nothing really tied in together. You know, it was just like, okay, oh, another solo joint, okay, Ghost Rider, Punisher, okay, Elektra, who cares? But then Iron Man drops, kills it. At the end of Iron Man, we see our first post-credits, and it's like, okay, are they trying to build a universe here? Oh, Avengers Initiative. Oh, they're going to do the Avengers. Okay. Each movie after that, it tied into Iron Man. It set up the Avengers. You know, the pieces are coming together. Then finally, after Captain America, the first Avenger, we see the little teaser trailer for the Avengers. Lost my shit. Nerdgasms galore, where I'm like dried out. And then the movie drops. I first saw this shit on bootleg. I'm going to be honest with you. I first saw this on bootleg. And yeah, typically if I see something on bootleg, I don't go back to it again, you know, as far as going to the theater. But I actually paid my money to go see this twice after seeing the bootleg. That's how big this movie was. This shit was like bigger than the first Star Wars, man. And yeah, even though the sequels stepped it up, you know, Endgame and Infinity War, or I guess better movies, because, you know, there was more meat. There was just a lot more at stake in those movies. But the first Avengers kicked everything off. This started everything. So you could say this is like Star Wars, and then Infinity War was like Empire Strikes Back. It took it up to a next level. But that first Avengers was like the beginning. That was the genesis. When you saw that trailer and the camera did the spin-a-rooney, and you saw Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man in the same shot, fucked me up. And not to mention my boy, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. This was the last time we saw Hulk really great. Hulk stole the shit, man. He was the brightest spot on this movie. And that's what makes the other movies kind of sad, is that Hulk used to be the one they went to when they couldn't get shit done. So Hulk was like the last resort, code green, when the Avengers couldn't get it done. And somehow it became where Thor ended up becoming code green, because now Thor's kicking ass. And you see Banner in the fucking Hulk suit talking about, oh yeah, you guys are so screwed now. Miss me with that shit, but that's another topic for another day. This movie, The Hulk, this is the best version of the Hulk we've ever seen. Scary, instrument of destruction. And I don't know if it was the MCU's intent to clip the Hulk's nuts off, and that's why Joss Whedon had to go, because when the Russos got a hold of him, the Hulk just went, oh God. Gotta mention my boy Loki, probably the third best villain in the MCU besides Thanos and Killmonger. Loki was that dude, even though he wasn't a real physical presence, man, but just his sneakiness, his snakiness. Loki was just like you. He was that villain that you love to hate. He was smart. He always outsmarted Thor. But then my boy Hulk got a hold of him. It was a whole different story. Everybody shined in this movie. Everybody had screen time. Everybody had their chance to kick ass. Everybody had their moment, and I loved it. Even the minor Avengers like Black Widow and Hawkeye, even though Hawkeye was like AWOL for most of the movie, but then when he came back from his trance, he kicked ass. This movie, flawless. There's nothing bad I could say about it. No flaws at all. Pacing, the action, the acting, the story, just the effects, everything about this movie was just, it was lightning in a bottle. So wrapping this up, not to go on and on about it, but yeah, that first Avengers gets an A+ easily for me, man. A++++++. You know, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, you know what I'm saying, Chris Evans, everybody shining, Scarlett Johansson, girl, I drink your bathwater, sweeter than bear meat, finer than frog hair, and you can kick ass too. Yeah, y'all, that's all I got. A+ for Marvel's The Avengers. This is Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.
Big thanks to my boy Rashad G Reviews for being in this video with me. Again, as usual, you can find the links to both him and Q Reviews in the description box down below. But let's move on talking about this movie. Like I mentioned, this is a film that just satisfies on all levels. It's the cinematography in this movie is just so much fun for me. Again, this is kind of the epitome of what a blockbuster should be, in my opinion. The characters are so well done. They're so well written. It feels like every character character has their moment. There are a couple characters that don't have as much screen time and development as they would have later on in the franchise, characters like Hawkeye, but I do enjoy his role in this film. I enjoy a lot of the great moments with him and Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson really has the opportunity to shine in this movie for the first time, and again, like I mentioned before, Mark Ruffalo had to come in and kind of reintroduce the character of the Hulk to the MCU. Obviously before it was played by Edward Norton, and this time he had to come in and give us this new version while also feeling like it's the same character in a way, but also kind of not so much, and I think that he did an amazing job. I love what Mark Ruffalo has done with the character across the franchise. I really just love how he's really seeped into the role and how committed he is. And Rashad G said it, this is easily one of the most beautiful and epic versions of the Hulk that we've ever had on screen. This is everything you wanted the Hulk to be on screen. Just a big hulking monster who just leans into the ability to smash and just destroy everything, and I just love it. The epic conclusion of this film is just so well done. The villain is so well done with Loki, and it does such a great job of setting up for what this franchise would be later on. Now, before I jump into the minor negatives that I have about this film and my final thoughts on the film, let's go ahead and hear what Q Reviews had to say about this movie.
Anthony Perez, Rashad G Reviews. Yo, what up? Thanks so much for having me on the show once again. You caught me in my Thor role. Might have a little bit of pizza rolls and Cheetos on the side, but don't you worry. We're here to talk about the Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon. What more can you say? Can you find a human being on this planet that doesn't like the original Avengers movie? It's like one of the movies that's just universally loved, right? Back in the days when I was in the playground days, all we talked about, man, I bet they'll make an X-Men movie one day, I bet they'll make an Avenger movie one day, and I'll bet they make a Justice League movie one day. Well, we got all of them, and one of the best genesis of them all, to me, personally, is the Avengers. It's just like a kid in the candy store. It was everything I ever wanted. I never thought they could pull Iron Man off screen like they did with Tony Stark, you know what I'm saying, with Robert Downey Jr. He nailed that role, which started Marvel going up on this upward climb. And then they released Captain America, Winter Soldier, Thor, you know, and you knew it was eventually coming together, of course, because the post-credit scene in the original Iron Man, so you knew the Avengers was happening. And when the Avengers did happen, you knew it was coming, and you knew this was gonna be an unprecedented event, right? I just remember that movie was coming out, we had our t-shirts like the Avengers was coming out, like this is like literally one of the biggest things that has ever happened in film. You got your favorite characters, you know, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, and the Hawk all in the same movie? Are you kidding me, son? And I was like, man, just don't fucking disappoint me. Just don't fucking disappoint me. And no, they did not disappoint me. I think The Avengers is actually one of the best superhero movies of all time. You know what I'm saying? Just by the character dynamics. When you first get together, you try to get a team together. Of course, they all got different personalities. One's from a whole nother dimension, you know what I'm saying? One is a hulking monster. Then you got a philanthropist genius. And then you got the super straight Captain America that's here in the future. Now, how does this all mesh together, and how does it work, and how does this dynamic come in play? Oh yeah, it's all over the place. They're all over the place. And when you see the Avengers beefing, when Thor came down with that lightning and, you know what I'm saying, shocked Tony Stark and it recharged the shit, it was just like, oh, that fucking super nerd shit that I fucking live for.
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes? This is beyond you, Metal Man.
Then when they got the team together, when they finally got the team together there in New York, tell me, still, it always is stelled up. You're not going to come in your pants when you see that epic shot of Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and the Hulk super towering over him with that Avengers theme music, which is probably one of the most iconic theme musics of all time. When you hear that dun 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 dun, you knew it was going to be an extinction level event, and that started it all. I think the Avengers started the uphill super climb of what Marvel is today, because what Marvel did after the Avengers, they tried Thor 2, which was good, Iron Man 3, which is good, but as you see, they started to do the Master P thing, right? This is what I mean by the Master P thing. They started to put everybody in the movie, so they came out with, you know, Civil War, which is basically a Avengers movie. movie. I mean, it's all the Avengers there, essentially based on Captain America, but that is the Avenger movies. It's a Master P album, you know? Winter Soldier. Just like, let's put Black Widow in there, Captain America, you know what I'm saying? Samuel L. Jackson, just to tie it all together in this nice gumbo pot. And it all started from the Avengers. They knew they had something big, and that's why it's one of my favorite movies. It's just pure fucking fire. 5 out of 5 if I ever had to score the Avengers for sure. It's just pure fun. Story is who cares? You got the Avengers together, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they had a basic plot that ended up tying all in the end with Thanos and the whole nine, so it all ties together, which is cool. But the actual plot of the Avengers is not really that strong. But that's okay, though, because we got all our favorite characters, and the dialogue, it's witty. Chris Evans is bouncing off Robert Downey Jr. Chris Hemsworth, we didn't think that was that funny, was bouncing off all of them. Bruce Banner in the Hawk fight, my goodness, and then the Loki smash. Come on, man. Avengers just fire. Fire. Thank you so much, Anthony Perez, for having me on your show. I'm gonna give it back to you. I'm gonna get back to my Fat Thor shit. Thanks once again.
Once again, a big thanks to Q Reviews and Rashad G for being in this video with me. If you go to the description box down below, you guys can find their links to their channels. Go check them out. Two hugely passionate film buffs. They're going to be on the channel a lot more, so do expect to see their faces a lot more. I'm super grateful to have had them in this video and to be able to have two guys that I knew love this film and were definitely going to give me, you know, positive reviews. But on top of that, I just wanted to be able to hear what excited them. Like I mentioned before, what is it that led up to your excitement for this film? And I definitely want to hear from all of you guys, because I think for a lot of us, this film satisfied most fans. There are going to be people who don't like this movie, and if you didn't like this movie, I am curious as to what you didn't like about it. Definitely leave those comments down below. But if you love this film, if it was everything you wanted, like, tell me down below in the comments, what was that process like for you leading up to it? What was the excitement level like? Because I know for me, it was completely out of this world. And sitting down in that theater, I was just completely and utterly in love with everything that was happening. Every time that I've seen it since, it's just as epic. And what I was going to say earlier that I kind of just lost my train of thought on was, with the most epic films that we've received recently, with these movies like Infinity War and Endgame that truly are complete fan service, just dream films, things that we never would have expected that would ever be on screen 20 years ago. It's just really crazy when you look at what we've gotten in these newer films and how epic things have gotten, and how when you go back and watch this film, the epicness is not taken away from it. You have that epic shot that both of the other guys talked about, where you have the full pan around and you see all the characters, and it's just a small group of Avengers compared to what we've seen now, and that scene is just as epic as it was the first time. This film and that final Battle of New York is truly still incredibly epic. It's a film that really just goes above and beyond for comic book fans. It's not only just a film for comic book fans, but a great entry point for fans of all kinds. It does a great job of being its own movie, where you can just know the base level knowledge of these characters and just be able to follow the story and keep up with it. And then on top of that, you have this great story that had built up across the films prior and was setting up for so much more great storytelling. I think this film does such a great job of solidifying who all these characters are. I think there's such a great sense of tension and conflict between the characters. There are characters that fight and have arguments throughout the film, and it's that camaraderie that's built throughout this film and them really realizing that they need to team up by the end of the film that makes this film the epicness that it really is. It's a film with a lot of heart, a lot of charm, beautiful special effects, incredible and just gripping action, some great character moments, great performances, and I really just cannot praise this movie enough. I think the weakest part of this film is probably what Q Review said. You know, the narrative is, for, you know, it's not something we've never seen before. The villain has something, he's trying to do something, they're trying to stop him, you know, whatever. It's the same basic kind of comic book villain kind of story, but you know, it really doesn't matter because the rest of the film is so well written. It's not a film that really, its strength is not trying to lean on the plot. It's more about, here's this story, here's what the heroes have to face and what they have to overcome, but it's really more about them. The story and the plot, more than anything, really revolves around them having to realize that they need to work as a team. If not, they will not achieve the things that they want. You have this room, this group of big personalities and big opinions, and in the reality of the situation is they have to realize at a certain point that they need to team up for them to really be able to help people and do what they all really want to do, which is help people. So I think it goes without saying that I love this film. The two other guys love this film too. I do highly recommend you guys go check out their channel. If you have never seen the Avengers, what are you doing? Start the MCU immediately. Maybe these films don't look like they're your kind of thing, but I do really recommend you give them a shot, because outside of the costumes and the action that can all come across very geeky or just maybe one note, it's a franchise and the characters that are just so well written. There's so much heart and charm put behind them, and I think they completely transcend just being comic book films. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be our thoughts on the Avengers. Definitely leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more videos, and you can go down below in the description box, like I mentioned, and go find the 2 channels, Q Reviews and the Rashad G Reviews, and I definitely recommend you guys go and give them some love, and I will see each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.